Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
How did you come to write this book?
What really struck me was that too few books were about my people. Where are our stories? Where's our representation?
Would you give us the pleasure of reading an excerpt?
Yo, Sharonda, girl, you be pregnant again? If I is, Ray Ray is gonna be a real father this time around. Thank
you. Monk, your books are good, but they're not popular. Editors, they want a black book.
They have a black book. I'm black, and it's my book.
You know what I mean.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of In the Lobby, a podcast that lives here on the Rail Lovers podcast feed that releases every single Monday. This is a podcast where we're just talking about new release movies and just whatever we want. But today we're talking about the Cord Jefferson film, American Fiction, starring Jeffrey Wright. Am I correct on that? Yeah, Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Joining me on this conversation today is the host of the Youth Critic Podcast and From the Top, Kale Smith. Welcome back to In the Lobby and the Real Lovers Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome. I'm so glad to be back. Thank you, Marley, for this. This is incredible.
A lot of people are probably asking, like, American Fiction, like that came out like 2 weeks, at least a month ago, at least for me. Well, this has actually got a more wide release. Kaylee, you actually just saw it this weekend, and if people are clamoring for the review of The Beekeeper, which you just literally just got out of, hit the comments up. Let us know if you want. Hit buzz
David
in the comments.
David Ayer would totally think "Fuck" was a masterpiece of literary fiction.
Oh yeah, he totally. But hit. Buzz around in those comments. Let us know if you want to see that review, because boy, that was a movie. But we're here to talk about some actual cinema. I'm just going to read the synopsis here from Letterboxd. Thelonious Ellison's writing career has stalled because his work isn't deemed black enough. Monk, he also goes by Monk, like in the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
A writer and English professor writes a satirical novel under a pseudonym aiming to expose the publishing world's hypocrisies. The book's immediate success forces him to get deeper, enmeshed and assumed identity and the challenges he's closely held worldviews. Without further ado, Kale, what did you think of American Fiction?
Yeah, I love this movie. I will just get right to it. It's to me one of the best screenplays of the year. Like, this is a movie where it lives or dies. Like, movies like the American Fiction, they live or die off of their ensemble, and then they live or die off of their screenplay. And this movie literally has the best of both. I mean, we have Sterling K. Brown. You mentioned Jeffrey Wright. We have Issa Rae. The cast is stacked for this, and even better, like, it just gets better because we have character actors. And then Cord Jefferson, has he done other projects, or is this his first movie? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm looking right now on Letterboxd. This is his first film. Which,
oh wow,
people probably just were listening to our top 10 movies of 2023. I had about 3 movies in my top 10 for 2023 for directorial debuts. If I saw this one like actually in 2023, I probably would have put this one in my top 10 for sure. But
this is in my top 10 for sure, because it just is such a brilliant. It's brilliant. That's all I got.
Yeah. I feel like this movie, like my initial reactions to like this movie were, I thought it was like a lot more funnier than I thought it was going to be, because I remember seeing the trailers for this movie like constantly, and I thought it was going to have like some laughs, but also just be like this hard hitting like race division like type of movie. But I was actually surprised like how serious like this movie got, but also like how it balanced like the comedy like so well, because like I guess we can get a little bit into spoilers a little bit. It's not really a spoiler, but the moment when Thelonious is talking to his sister, like they're just having like coffee like at like this restaurant, and she starts having chest pains, and within the first act, like his sister's like is gone, is out of his life. And I thought like the way that they dealt with like that scene of him losing like his sister, I thought it was so grounded and real. I know like as like film reviewers we use like those terms like a lot, but this one I actually like mean that like a lot, just because like luckily I haven't had any of that happen to me yet, but that seems like that's like that scenario. It seems like that would actually like happen, where you're just like, oh, this person, like they can't breathe. What do I do? And then like a few seconds later they're gone, which is, it's kind of shocking when you think about it. But what do you think of that scene, Kale?
So to add context to what I thought, so I didn't really see a trailer of this movie until about a week before I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I normally try and come into movies nowadays where I'm either halfway or close to like when the movie's about to start. Because I don't really, because I've seen most trailers in front of like, you know, either on Twitter or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I watched the trailer, I think again tonight, because it was in front of the Beekeeper, you know, because it is an Amazon MGM property. And so when I watched it again, I was like, oh wait, you know, they don't reveal that at all in the trailer that the sister dies, or there is like, you know, a girlfriend for Jeffrey Wright that follow that, you know, just like 10 minutes later to kind of take up that role. Because I do think, you know, it is a good moment and it's a really powerful moment. It's something I haven't seen done. And I, you know, and I just saw, like, also this weekend, I saw All of Us Strangers.
I still have to see that. So
yeah, I won't spoil it, but I will just say that movie also kind of deals with death in its own way. And what I will say is it's probably one of the more powerful death scenes I've seen in a movie in a while, because you're just watching a character who's never seen death now watching it, and it's not done. And what's so great about it is it's handled very seriously. It's done very well, and so much so that when the white person shows up on his jog and is like, hey, do you have a permit for dumping, you know, the human remains on the beach? And they're all just like, fuck you, get off. It's like, it's a nice undercut, but also parallel to that, it's like, you know, even in death, like Black people can't, you know, just, you know, even when they have a beach house and everything, they can't even like mourn in quiet, in silence. They can't even have this beautiful serene moment of putting their, you know, sister on the beach, you know, and, you know, laying her ashes to rest on the beach.
Yeah, it's white people just gotta mess everything up.
Yeah, exactly.
How unfortunate what white people can do. But yeah, I like this movie is like absolutely incredible. Like what it has to, like what we just talked about, like the death, but also just like what are like kind of like how Black people are kind of like represented in the media as well, and how it like if you were when I recommend like this movie, like Dream Scenario was also on my number one like movies of 2023.
Another movie very similar, dealing with very similar ideas and themes.
Very, very similar, kind of like this whole like concept of virality, because like when Monk like writes the book, like it becomes like more of a success, and he was like, no, I guess I'll just ride this out. Just because it's like he's actually getting like eyes on his other work, but it's kind of like that slippery slope of like, how far do I let this go? Because obviously it's like not true. And then, yeah.
Well, it's not even that, like, you know, the slippery slope. It's the slippery slope of, you know, it's starting, like, people are starting to read the book and take it seriously. Like, he wrote the book as a joke. Like it was meant to
Mhm.
be, a joke between him and his agent, who also are just like, who's also a person of color.
Mhm.
And their frustrations of like how what stories get published.
Mhm.
And I meant that when I sent my tweet out about the movie, about it being about, who releases, material, who releases the stories, who, publishes these stories, and I mean that, like, it's, the movie is a commentary on, the stories that, do come out and do become, big, are stories of like triumph, American
Mhm.
exceptionalism and triumph, and it's, or triumph over, hard times. Like, it's so, and it's not, and I don't mean that, and it's not just exclusive to race, it's exclusive to all stories. I mean, even more recently, The Color Purple is that kind of same way.
Mhm.
So, so, to me, like, I feel like that's American. So I say that as like someone who is like, yeah, like I say that as someone who loves The Color Purple novel, but also watching this movie, I'm like, I feel like I'm making those same judgments as well. I'm like, having read, I feel like those. So I mean, to me, I definitely feel, as a white person, I definitely feel like I've made some of those mistakes, but in my judgment of reading and observing material, and also, like, it's very, American fiction is very, very funny in pointing out like the flaws of like what gets published
Mhm.
and what doesn't, or what the populace ultimately cares about.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
I totally agree, and like being like a mixed race person, like I totally see like both sides of that because I'm not an author, but I've been in certain situations where I have to present myself as white or present myself as black, and you see that in American fiction where he's like I feel like the funniest scene in the movie is like when he's on call with like one of the publishers, and it's like he obviously doesn't want to show his face because when he wrote this book he wrote it for as someone
is
as,
it in a pseudonym?
yeah, he wrote it with another name, and the way it's such a brilliant performance by Jeffrey Wright. The way he switches up his mannerisms, because he doesn't have to switch up his mannerisms in the scene because he's on the phone call. But the way Jeffrey Wright's just a fantastic actor, and I feel like this movie like really shows off like every like ounce of what he can do. And I hope like with this after this movie, like he'll actually start getting like a lot more recognition. Like I know he was nominated for a Golden Globe, right? Or
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I
or
believe
he is
so.
getting recognition for awards like the Critics' Choice Awards as we're recording this. Like they're there tonight, and I believe he was nominated for that as well. But
Right. And well, I mean, and also, I mean, I feel like, Jeffrey Wright's always been a great character actor. I mean,
mhm,
I mean, I just did the Michael Mann podcast, and he's on Ali,
mhm,
and he is been, even great, like 22 years. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen his work past Ali. But he's been this, I mean, batting 100. I mean, batting 1,000, just all the way. He's even stuff in like bit roles of like the James Bond movies. I mean, he's really been a great character actor.
mhm.
I don't, you know, so it's kind of surprising to me that people are watching this movie and going, "Holy shit, Jeffrey Wright should be in every fucking movie." And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
and he has.
um, but yeah, but wasn't the only like great performance. Like it's all stacked, like all
Oh
across.
yeah, Sterling K. Brown is
We
incredible.
Sterling K. Brown playing like an out member of the family where he's dealing with the of like because he has like like a special scene like between him and Monk where he's talking about him like not coming out to like their father, and how his dad never knew that he was gay. And like I feel like Sterling K. Brown just plays like it's always very tricky, like when characters like play when actors play like roles like that, and I feel like he plays that with like like such a like a unique sensibility, like with him. Like you really care about his character, even though his character is a little bit unlikable because of all the drug use and the kind of crazy decisions that he's made along the way. But you could tell that his character is definitely hurting, like on the inside.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and I kind of empathize with him, a lot because, he mostly in it because I mean he's a guy. I mean his suffering is shown all throughout, and he really does. And it's not like, and it's in subtle ways. I mean, he's drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning. He's, I mean, and like, I mean, just the way he describes this, like, it's so like sad. Like he's in Tucson, which is a college town, a great college town, by the way. Well, I don't know about great, but it is a fun college town. But it is just filled with college kids, and there's, and so I'm sure for him, coming out in his, what I'm assuming the character's like 40s or 50s, he's kind of having that Christopher Plummer beginners kind of, opening up, where like late stage opening up, and it's so both heartbreaking and miserable, but he also just learns to accept that, I have to just let people in, and thus, why there's two other gay people, at the house.
Mm-hmm. Their beach house.
Their beach house, yeah.
But yeah, like that. I thought that was like such a heartbreaking scene. But like the bulk of like this movie is really just is about Monk, right? Like writing like this fake book to gain enough financial stability to care for his family, and more exclusively his mother, that is diagnosed with what was the it's been like
Alzheimer's.
I thought it was like acute Alzheimer's, or it was like
well, it's like a very early stage of it. It's like very, I mean, she's just showing early signs of neuro, not divergent. It's like like her neuro impact is like neurodegradation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
which is an early sign of Alzheimer's.
It's his mom is played by Leslie Uggams. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
But I hope I'm saying that right. But yeah, I thought that was like a really strong performance.
Oh, she's Blind Owl.
Huh?
She's Blind Owl.
What?
From the Deadpool movies?
Oh yeah. I thought she looked familiar.
Yeah, I'm looking up her I'm on her IMDb, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like she's blind. She's Blind now, and she did.
I totally forgot about that. I forgot about that character.
Best joke in the movie in Deadpool 2. She's the cinematographer.
Right. Oh, but yeah. What do you think of like her performance in American Fiction, of just like her presenting Alzheimer's in this way?
Oh, it's really great. It's it's very. Although I will say, like, the way it progresses in the story, it's like, because the way the doctor describes it, it's like it's just like early signs, like it's something that's going to lead to Alzheimer's, which that could still take years to like to really fully develop. But here it's like this doctor really messed up, because she has like full blown Alzheimer's. I mean, she's walking on the beach. She doesn't know like where her kid's at. She doesn't, she thinks her kids are still playing at some neighbor's house. I mean, she is full blown, so maybe again, these are minor things. It is. I know. I'm just like, I know it's a minor thing, but I was just like, but I do think her performance is fantastic. And I do love how, I mean, there's both, she kind of unintentionally hurts, her Sterling K. Brown, or Cliff, excuse me, but also kind of gives Monk kind of catharsis, as well as that, geniuses, they don't really like to be around people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all have to kind of, she gives him kind of like the catharsis that, Monk needs, because he really is a bright person. He really is someone who doesn't really see, he doesn't see the appeal in this populist, the archetype, excuse me. Sorry, I'm blanking on the word. Archetype. He doesn't really see the need for populist archetypes anymore. He feels like we have evolved, in literature or in his field. So, but I mean, the world still, for some reason needs it. So I feel like her kind of scene and her kind of the way of like, talking about their dad, because it's revealed to Monk that their dad cheated, like on their mother, like multiple times, so
just awful. It's just awful. Yeah. And like at the beginning of the movie, like Monk, like basically, what do you think of that opening scene, by the way, of like the way this movie just starts, where it just starts with
even liberal progressive Karen, she's gotta be a bitch.
Yeah. I just love, because like being around like certain spaces, like that is totally a scenario that would go down, where it's like, it's obviously just like it's the white liberal woman that's upset about the N-word, like, oh, I'm so offended by that, and I'm like, how are you offended by it? It's your people that like basically like...
Yeah, and even watching that, I'm like, yeah, I'm with Jeffrey here. Like, why are you of all people, complaining?
And I feel like the movie does like a really good job of like getting people on Jeffrey Wright's side. Like you said, you're on Jeffrey Wright's side from the beginning, but even if you were kind of like that white Karen, like in the back of the class, you could see Jeffrey Wright's like side of like why like we need to talk about like these things, like talk about like these hard subjects. And that, like, that's when the whole movie kind of goes along, where it's like we can't keep Black people like in this box telling like the exact same stories and like telling the stories that they don't want to tell. We need to open up and like listen to them and allow them to like tell the stories that they want to tell, not the ones that only white people want to hear.
Of course. So. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, Karen, she's just too frustrated. So
yeah, I don't think your character's name was Karen, but she might.
No. It's no. You're right, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, that is like the most Karen thing. But even for white liberal progressive Karen, even. So yeah. But no, I'm with her. Although I do feel like towards the third act of the movie, when Jeffrey Wright is like not revealing like what's going on to people, or to at least his closest family, especially his girlfriend, like what's going on. Honestly, I mean, and I get it. The whole moral of the story is like Jeffrey Wright is so like frustrated genius that that he feels like sharing would somehow indignify his genius, or indignify his it would indignify like everything he stands for. Especially admitting that he wrote the book and it's becoming this popular. He's afraid it would mean he was selling out, even though the whole story is he has to sell out because he's on because his like university, they put him on a leave of absence, so he can't make any money, and his brother is broke, his sister is dead, and so everything's tied up in like financial limbo.
He's got to like pay for his mom's like living assistance because they had to put her in a home because of the Alzheimer's like diagnosis.
Yeah, because it's too much for it. Really, yeah, because that's pretty. It does get too much for like just one person to take care of.
Well, and was it? I wasn't even sure, like, because his brother was like a plastic surgeon, right? I thought I always assumed that his brother had the money, but he was just blowing it on drugs.
Well, he also was going through a
Partying.
divorce.
Yeah.
So, and he was caught cheating, which means, even cheating on a man,
Yeah.
which means, which means he's probably having to pay some alimony and some form of child support. So I'm sure he probably is a good plastic surgeon and he probably is making money, but he's probably just barely making enough just to, pay for his place and pay for
payments.
Yeah.
That's true. But but
I'm trying to drop all this divorce lingo.
Yeah. But do you have any more like final thoughts on American Fiction?
We've been kind of, falling. So I really love that the original title was My Pathology, but instead of the TH, it's, F. I kind of love that. And then I really do love the scene where he's just like, let's just name it Fuck. Like, it's just such a perfect, it's just such a fuck. That is like the great, and they just go for it. Like, I genuinely love the jokes. I even kind of love how, like, no matter what, like, Jeffrey Wright can never like write himself out of this hole. Like, he can never just, like, he can't get the girl at the end. He can't get his girlfriend back. He can't do anything. He's just stuck in this limbo of where he has to constantly keep writing like the most ludicrous, most self-serious ending. He has to become the writer of The Beekeeper eventually.
Oh my god. Why'd you have to bring it back? Why'd you have to bring it back to The Beekeeper?
Because you called it cinema.
Well, it kind of is. In a way.
Marley, it's like cinema for like, Chuck Norris fans.
It's more cinema than any Fast and Furious movie, but that's besides the point. But
hey, well, I can't even defend it anymore.
But American Fiction is true cinema.
It is. It's great movie. I implore people to check it out. It's a great performance. Unfortunately for Jeffrey Wright, this year is too stacked for Best Actor.
I think he could get a nomination. I think he can get a nomination. He could slide in there.
Oh yeah, yes, of course. I just mean like in a win.
I think Cillian Murphy is gonna take it like 100%. I think anyone going up against Cillian Murphy this year, it's just like it's not he doesn't. They don't have a shot. But
well, now everyone seems to think it's Paul Giamatti. So
yeah, he just got the win like on the Critics' Choice Awards. So I still have to see The Holdovers, by the way. But
that's such a Marley movie. The Holdovers.
It's such a oh yeah.
It's a Marley movie because it's about family.
Well, and yet I haven't seen it. So, but yeah, but American Fiction's about family too. It's about it's sticking together during hard times and like loving each other like unconditionally. Like the thing that I love the most about like about Sterling K. Brown and Jeffrey Wright's character is that Sterling K. Brown, like I believe there's like a line of dialogue where he calls Monk homophobic, and he was like, "I'm not homophobic. You do what you want." And like, I feel like that interaction that they have I feel like Monk obviously like he's still kind of like not like he's not necessarily like okay with like him being gay, but he's willing to like learn and like adjust to like his lifestyle. I just loved like how healthy like their relationship was, like because like they would constantly go back and forth. But what do you think about like
Marley? What you just described was so unhealthy.
What?
I mean, like I understand what you're saying, but it's like I mean, I'm trying to even remember that scene.
Well, it's not like he's like pushing him away. It's like he's still. It's not like it. I feel like
fair.
I feel like it would have been different. Well, we actually wouldn't have known like if he actually did come out to his father, but I feel like Monk is kind of like is the starring K Brown's kind of like surrogate father in a way, and just kind of like how he would have reacted. But I don't know. I never really saw Monk as being homophobic. It was just like when people when that happens to like people in their lives are like their family, like it takes time to adjust. Not everyone is like quick to accept. Like they accept like in stages. You see what I mean?
And that's totally fair. And honestly, that's totally fair. And I do give Monk this. He's not outwardly homophobic. He's just, and I think like because there's like I mentioned, there's a scene where like they're at the beach house, and there's like two other gay men that are at this beach house while there's a wedding that's about to go on and all this. And I do think there is a powerful scene that follows in that that shows kind of Monk's not necessarily homophobic, not supreme homophobicness, but just like his subtle homophobia in that the housemaid that they have even like comes in, shows love to Cliff, and it's like your family or whatever, and it kind of makes Monk kind of settle down and be like, it's okay, or make it okay in his mind, and then and then they have that speech after the wedding of like, of knowing his full self and all this. And I do feel like that is actually a pretty good like way to sum up the movie is that, is that Monk is a character who is so like brilliant in his genius that it kind of makes him, in his own way, like closeted to the world. Because he can only relate to other geniuses, and so and his whole fear of the book coming out and people and his family and girlfriend finding out is that he can write something as like dumb and populist as like Issa Rae's character, So, and in a way, it's Sterling K. Brown kind of gives him the liberation to be like, okay, I can be a little bit more outwardly and let people kind of in on the know that I also have I have this populist, sensibility in me. It's meant as a joke, but I mean, it's popular. It's basically like what what Francis Ford Coppola asked out of George Lucas when he said, "Please make American Graffiti."
Right. To call back to your from the top retrospective with George Lucas.
Or what the producers of The Beekeeper said to David Ayer, just make a pop.
No, we're not going there.
It more for full circle.
We're not going there. Full circle. We didn't even talk
hive.
Protect your hive. Protect your hive. That's what Jeffrey. That's what Monk should do. Protect your hive. Hive meeting his family. But yeah. That was American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson, starring Jeffrey Wright. It's in theaters now. I believe it's a wider release. It's still kind of limited in some places, but more than it was like back on Christmas. Everyone should go check it out. Let us know what you thought about American Fiction in the comments down below. Kale, this is the part of the show where you let people know where people can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at MovieKale. Or if you want to call it X, if you're so into brands.
It's Twitter. We've went through this, Kale. It's
okay.
Twitter.
All right, it's fine. Okay, Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at MovieKale, and then you can find me on Threads at kale.smith90. I'm still kind of starting, so if I'm not like posting regularly, that's fine. Don't be bothered. But you can find my stuff mostly still on Twitter. And also, I run 2 podcasts, as Marley mentioned before. I run the Youth Critic Podcast, which is what the name is right here, and that's where I review current releases like American Fiction. we posted today, or not today of this podcast coming out, but or today of this recording, we posted The Color Purple. We have a couple more episodes coming, much like the Beekeeper episode, which will, definitely happen. And then I do another show called From the Top, where I review directors' filmographies, and we kind of like go through the stories of like who they were and what their films, what was happening like during their time, when they were making these movies. And right now we are on the second season of From the Top for George Lucas. We are covering the George Lucas filmography, his legacy, everything. So get ready for a lot of Star Wars talk if you're looking at From the Top. A lot of updated reviews, updated thoughts, especially now 4 years removed from The Rise of Skywalker. So yeah. And you can find all those on Spotify and anywhere you listen to a podcast. Thank you, Marley, for having me here.
Oh, no problem. All those links will be in the description box down below. You can follow me everywhere on Twitter with @The Real Lovers Pod, at Real Lovers Pod on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram. And then you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube with the username @MarleyLovesFilm. I'm pretty much everywhere talking about talking about movies. Follow me on Letterboxd as well @MarleyLovesFilm. I am actually very active on that platform now. I am working on watching at least one movie a day for on Letterboxd, like logging at least one movie a day, and I've stuck to that 15 days into the new year. So I'm actually really proud of myself for doing that. But yeah. Anyways, that was our American Fiction review. I didn't even ask you like what you rated it, Kale.
Oh, on Letterboxd?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't put. Well, I'll go ahead and put in my Letterboxd review tonight, but I gave it a 4.5. Like, I really loved it. I don't have any flaws with it. Everything I have that was that you could consider a flaw are just like minor things that I don't even like. They're just arbitrary. So
yeah, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was one of my favorite movies that came out last year, but I didn't see it in 2023. But with that being said, my name is Marley Silverbrand for the Real Lovers Podcast,
and I'm Kale Smith from the Youth Critic and From the Top.
And let's get back to the movies. We'll see you later.